Chapter 31 The Bison on Halloween. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As for the second way to upgrade, that is to learn to develop more spells and tap your own magic potential like a mage, after all, reality is not about playing games, so how can you defeat monsters and upgrade? Even his so-called attribute panel is just a numerical summary of his own situation. A mage's strength comes from the growth of knowledge and the exploration of the magic network. Naturally, the more knowledge, the more powerful he is. Learning new spells is easier to level up than refining a single spell, and creating new spells is easier to level up than learning new spells. Levin also has an advantage in this regard, that is, his knowledge and insights will not be limited to the world of Harry Potter. This means that new spells can be created with a little insight. Even though these spells already existed in all the worlds, to him, to the world of Harry Potter, these were new spells he created. According to his estimation, as long as he learns 20 more 1-level spells, or creates 10 1-level spells, or creates 5 2-level spells, he can rise to Wizard LV5. In short, the more he learns, the more he comprehends, and the more he innovates, the faster he becomes stronger. Before the Halloween dinner, Levin had to take a spell lesson. This class teaches the levitation spell, which Levin already knows, but this does not prevent him from gaining something in class. Okay, don't forget that subtle wrist movement we've been training. Professor Flitwick stood on his pile of books as usual and said sharply. 1 wave and 1 shake, remember, 1 wave and 1 shake. It's also very important to say the spell correctly. Don't forget the wizard Baruffio, who said the F instead of an S, and found himself lying on the floor with a buffalo on his chest. The little wizards burst into laughter, and the classroom was filled with joy. Boom! Before their laughter ended, a loud noise came from the center of the classroom. A huge bison appeared out of thin air in the classroom and blocked the corridor in the center of the professor. Regardless of their surprise, the little wizards all came forward to watch. Oh, who did this? Professor Flitwick asked loudly, but his tone was not angry. It's me, Professor. Among the crowd, Levin raised his hand. I thought it was just a joke, but I didn't expect. He pointed at the bison. I didn't expect this to be true. He waved his magic wand to cancel the summons of the bison, and then used a repair spell to restore the messy tables and chairs around him to their original state. Beautiful spell. Professor Flitwick nodded to him appreciatively and commented, I think you just invented a buffalo spell, but now is not the time to talk about it. He clapped his hands and called the little wizard's attention back to the levitation spell, but obviously, the influence of Bison Curse has not been eliminated. The little wizards all think that Levin's skills are really cool. Many people are looking at Levin with interest, trying to find opportunities to learn this skill from him, but they didn't know that Levin had invented more than just the buffalo curse. When he summoned the bison, Levin felt something in his heart. You have learned the buffalo summoning spell, you are proficient in arcane magic, you have understood the core concept of summoning, and you have made upgrades. Your buffalo summoning spell is upgraded to monster summoning, and your school of conjuration has reached the professional level. Monster summoning technique. You can summon monsters across planes to fight for you. The plane here usually refers to the attached plane, such as heaven, hell, etc., and cannot really cross the heavens and the world. What the School of Conjuration studies is the spell of summoning and creating matter, and monster summoning technique is the most basic summoning technique. The monster summoning spell can summon various monsters, and Bison is just one of them. Although the spell itself is level 1, as the caster level increases, this spell can also be used in a higher level way. The higher the ring skill, the stronger the monster summoned. Additionally, there are many variations of this spell. For example, Summon Undead can summon undead creatures from the underworld. Celestial Covenant can summon angels and other celestial creatures, and Dragon Covenant can summon dragon beasts and giant dragons. In short, because of an accident, Levin actually started the conjuration school route, and Levin was very happy. All goes well for the next course. Apart from Levin, only Hermione successfully used the levitating spell, and Gryffindor's Seamus caused another explosion. Unfortunately, the little girl got into a conflict with Ronald while trying to teach him, and left to get out of class in tears. Levin shook his head. Is this the end of fate? It seems that you have to pay attention to protecting others when practicing today. as soon as the charms class ended, the little wizards quickly went downstairs to the auditorium. After attending classes all afternoon, everyone was hungry, especially on this Halloween night. The sweet smell of pumpkin is still wafting through the hallways. When everyone walked into the restaurant, they were pleasantly surprised to find that the restaurant was decorated with colorful Halloween decorations that made it weird and dazzling. On the ceiling of the auditorium, there was a large group of bats flying around the wall. From time to time, a lone one would hit the wall and disappear. They are all conjured by magic. A large number of pumpkins carved with grimaces were piled against the wall, and some pumpkins were turned into lamps and floated in midair together with bats. The delicious food suddenly appeared on the golden plate, just like at the banquet at the beginning of school. Levin, you look hungry today. At the dinner table, Steve looked at Levin, who was eating, and asked in surprise, except for the first day of school, the other party was not usually like this. He was used to seeing Levin chew his food slowly, so why did the other party look like him today? Levin glanced at him and said while chewing, occasionally, I feel that the sun is shining in the sky. I have a feeling that something will happen today. Then he continued to work on the mutton pie in front of him. Then you can't eat so fast. Steve couldn't help but shake his head when he saw the other person stuffing another mouthful of salad into his mouth. It's simply more exaggerated than me. In less than 20 minutes, Levin was already full of wine and food. He wiped his mouth and looked at the Gryffindor table. Harry and his good friend Ronald were enjoying a meal, but Hermione was not there. Looking at the teacher's table again, Professor Quirrell was not there either, so he stood up and whispered to Steve, I'm going to use the bathroom. Steve was stunned. Did you digest it so quickly today? Levin didn't care what he was thinking. He left his seat and walked straight towards the classroom below. When he came to the stairs, Levin did not rush down. Instead, he hid himself behind a statue, cast invisibility on himself, and then hid quietly, until he saw Professor Quirinus Quirrell running up from downstairs, passing in front of him and running straight towards the auditorium. After confirming that Professor Quirrell disappeared from sight, Levin emerged from behind the statue and walked down the stairs to look for the troll. The auditorium at this time, in full view of teachers and students, Professor Quirrell suddenly rushed in. His big scarf was worn crookedly on his head, and his face was full of horror. Everyone stared at him. He walked to Professor Dumbledore's chair, leaned on the table, and gasped, the troll, in the underground classroom, thought you should know. After saying that, he fell to the floor and passed out. Updated today, May 4th, additional update, February 5th, you guys are really good at voting. Yesterday, I only owed 1 update. In the blink of an eye, I owed 3 updates, but it doesn't matter, the more you vote, the more I will add, and I will never go back on it. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th. Chapter 32 Trolls and Super Speed Regeneration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I heard that there was a troll hiding in Hogwarts, and there was chaos in the auditorium. Dumbledore had to make several piercing pyrotechnic explosions of his wand over his head before everyone fell silent. Prefect, the headmaster of Hogwarts said in a low voice, take the students from your house to the dormitories immediately. On Ravenclaw's side, female prefect Penelope Cravat immediately stood up and announced loudly, Ravenclaw students follow me. Steve immediately grabbed a piece of pumpkin pie and followed obediently. When the team was about to start moving, he suddenly thought of Levin, who was going to the toilet. Looking around to see that the other party hadn't come back yet, he immediately found the female prefect. It's broken. Miss Cravat, Levin just went to the toilet. He must not have heard the warning about the troll. Penelope was shocked when he heard this and hurriedly sent someone to find the professor. At this time, Levin had already entered the underground classroom. As soon as he came out of the corridor and turned in a different direction, a stench penetrated his nostrils. It was the smell of smelly socks mixed with public toilets that were never cleaned. Then he heard a low grunt and the sound of huge feet dragging on the ground. Levin looked up and saw a huge creature slowly approaching. This giant monster is 12 feet tall, with dull skin as gray as granite. Its huge and stupid body is like a pile of huge gravel, with a small head like a cocoa bean on top. Its short legs are as thick as tree stumps, and beneath them are large, flat, thick, calloused feet. The smell emanating from it was disgusting. and it was holding a thick wooden stick in its hand, which was dragging on the ground because of its long arms. At this time, the troll was stopping by a door and peering inside. Levin saw at a glance that the sign at the door read, "Women's Restroom." If nothing else, Hermione stayed inside. Without any pause, Levin strode forward and got into the toilet one step ahead of the troll. The troll did not notice the invisible little wizard, but snorted in confusion when Levin passed by him. Entering the bathroom, Levin immediately saw Miss Granger huddled in a corner. Don't blame her for being so miserable. At this time, she is not the future witch who will lead two useless men to fight Death Eaters head-on. She is just an 11-year-old girl. Levin stepped forward, covered her mouth directly, and then whispered in the frightened girl's ear. "It's me." Now, the nervous Hermione felt relieved a little. She whispered in a trembling voice, Is it you? Levin, you came to save me." "It's me." Levin held her hand comfortingly and asked, "How are you now? Can you stand up?" "Yes, but my feet are a little weak." Hermione grabbed Levin's arm and finally stood up. "So, can you cast spells?" Levin continued to ask. "You learned invisibility last week. Now is the time to practice it. Give it a try." Hermione nodded, pulled her wand out of her pocket with a trembling hand, and pointed it at herself. Invisibility technique. Magic swept through the body. In Levin's eyes, the girl instantly became completely transparent, but before the girl could get happy, the invisibility effect began to disappear, first the feet, then the body. Less than a second later, Hermione reappeared in front of Levin. "I'm sorry," the little witch said with a cry in her voice, "I'm too nervous and can't maintain the magic." "You still haven't practiced enough. Remember to practice more when you go back." Levin sighed and pointed his wand at the other person. Invisibility technique. Hermione became transparent again without further incident, and Levin reappeared. The level 2, invisibility technique, has a shortcoming. That is, you cannot actively cast spells or make other drastic actions during the duration, otherwise the invisibility state will be cancelled. This shortcoming was not made up for until level 4, advanced invisibility. The sound of continuous chanting in the women's restroom made the troll completely discover that there was someone hiding inside. It started to lower its head, trying to get in. Seeing that the situation became urgent, Hermione hurriedly said, "You left the invisibility skill to me. What are you going to do?" "Don't worry," Levin said calmly, "I have magic to protect myself, and the troll can't hurt me. You hide aside for now, and I will take the opportunity to run out when I fight the troll later." Levin asked her out because he thought she was in the way, but in Hermione's case, Levin had to sacrifice himself to attract the troll's attention, giving her a chance to escape. Even Levin's confident voice became tragic in her ears. "No. I won't leave you alone." The little witch cried and took out her wand again. "What are you doing? Don't waste my magic." Levin said helplessly, "Your magic can't hurt it." With that said, Levin took the initiative to give a demonstration. Expelliarmus. Red light emerged from the tip of the wand and accurately hit the troll's shoulder, but nothing happened. The troll blinked stupidly and turned its ugly nose toward Levin. Ordinary wizard spells cannot harm this giant monster at all. Originally, Levin wanted to demonstrate this to Hermione, but who would have expected that the little witch had wrong ideas from the beginning? And now she even gets the wrong idea. Even if you can't hurt the troll, you still have to stay and attract attention. Are you such a great person? Don't worry, I won't let you down. I know. I will definitely find the professors as soon as possible to support you. You must hold on. After Hermione finished speaking, she hid in a side compartment shivering. At this moment, the troll finally realized that the little guy in front of him had just attacked him, so it raised the stick in its hand, roared, and approached Levin. Frost armor. Levin did not launch an attack immediately, but instead put up a layer of defense for himself. This is also the arcane mage's fighting routine: first protect yourself, then seek control, and finally kill the enemy. Suddenly, Levin was surrounded by invisible armor. Hermione felt chilly in the cubicle. He's using his own spells again, she thought. He always has a bunch of his own spells. Regarding this coolness, the troll felt it even more than the little witch. The closer it gets to the little thing in front of it, the slower it moves due to the cold air. this is the deceleration effect caused by frost armor. While improving defense, of course, Levin would not waste this opportunity. He raised his wand again and pointed it at the troll in front of him. Beam after beam of blue rays shot from the tip of the wand towards the troll. It is a 0-level spell, Freezing Ray. Although the damage of this magic is not high, it is only a 0-level magic. It can be cast without much preparation, which is suitable for emergency use. The rays all hit the same spot, the shoulder of the troll's club-holding arm. Suddenly, a thin layer of frost appeared on the troll's right shoulder. It grew thicker and thicker under the constant attack, and finally froze into a single piece. The giant monster came to Levin recklessly, twisting its waist, shaking its shoulders, and swinging its arms. All the muscles in its body worked together with magic to exert all its strength. In one go, it was ready to crush this little thing into pulp with a stick, but the imagined scene did not happen. The stupid troll was stunned for several seconds, and then he realized that his set of moves actually only included the twisting of the waist. None of the subsequent actions were successful, because my shoulders have been frozen. In the eyes of Levin and Hermione, this troll just ran up to them and bent down awkwardly towards them. The arm holding the stick was still raised high on his shoulder. The funny look almost made Hermione laugh out loud. However, the calm Levin did not do this. He seized the opportunity and prepared a second spell. Ice Arrow, Ice Blade Technique. That when casting Frostbolt, Levin spent his energy reshaping the magic. The originally sharp ice arrows were turned into sharp ice blades and shot towards the troll's frozen shoulder. Although the troll has strong magic resistance, it has little resistance to cold damage. The rough and flexible outer skin also becomes very fragile under the action of Freezing Ray. I saw the ice blade hit, and the giant monster's arm was broken at the shoulder level, as if it had been chopped by a sharp knife, but under the influence of ice, it couldn't even feel pain. Okay, Levin, you're awesome. Hermione praised. Levin is also satisfied with this. This is the outcome of the battle he imagined. Without its arms and weapons, the giant monster immediately lost most of its combat power. With just a few small spells, this big guy can be easily subdued, and today's spell experiment was declared a success, just when Hermione was excited and Levin was about to pursue the victory. The troll picked up his arm and attached the broken part to the wound on his shoulder. Next, something unbelievable happened to the two of them. As soon as the flesh and blood of the monster's wound came into contact, it immediately began to grow crazily, and the sprouts of flesh sprouting one after another were horrifying to see. In less than 2 seconds, the giant monster's broken arm was reattached intact. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th. Chapter 33 Rebirth of Fierce Fire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, this broken arm cannot be said to be intact. It can even be said that the recovery was very rough. Levin clearly found that the connected arm was a little crooked, the texture of the interface skin did not exactly match up, and it was also a little longer, resulting in two arms that were longer and shorter, looking extremely uncoordinated. But this is the scariest part. Even with this rough technique, the giant monster still successfully reattached the severed arm, and the reattached arm can still be used flexibly. This shows that the giant monster relies entirely on its incredible recovery ability. But how is this possible? I have never heard that the trolls in the world of Harry Potter have such resilience. This is how the same thing. Levin's brain is working rapidly. A vast database of magic books is no help. Instead, it was the memory of his previous life that gave him clues. Could this troll have merged the characteristics of trolls from other worlds? Thinking of this, Levin was suddenly enlightened. Yes, surprisingly, Ciri from the wizarding world can appear in this world, water ghosts can appear in this world. So why can't the trolls of this world merge with the trolls of otherworld? After all, they are all the same species. Unlike the trolls in the Harry Potter world, whether in World of Warcraft, D&D, or the wizarding world, trolls are a race known for their regenerative abilities. The troll's wounds heal very quickly. If the monster loses its limbs or even its head, the dismembered parts will still maintain life and activity. Some trolls will even reattach severed limbs directly to their original places. What's even more exaggerated is that if the troll doesn't reattach the severed limbs to their original places, the severed limbs will even automatically fight like living creatures. You will see a crawling hand, a jumping leg, or a biting head on the battlefield, until the troll reattached the broken limb, or grow a new limb. Obviously, the giant monster in front of me is able to reattach its limbs because it has absorbed the abilities of its kind from Otherworld. If the original giant monster's combat power is equivalent to level 5-6. So now this guy who has both the magic resistance of the troll and the regeneration ability of the troll is completely equivalent to a level 7 to 8 wizard, but the troll's super recovery ability is not unsolvable. Levin's otherworldly knowledge told him that only acid and fire could prevent the regeneration of the troll's body. Isn't it time to catch up? Levin sneered proudly. The fireball technique I just developed. As he spoke, he waved his wand and read out the magic he just learned today. Monster summoning technique. In an instant, a huge bison appeared and stood in front of the giant monster. The bison is just an ordinary beast. Of course, it can't take a few blows from the troll, but until the bison falls, the troll cannot threaten its summoner. Seeing the troll being choked by the bison and screaming, Hermione's eyes lit up. So the buffalo curse can still be used like this? It's really powerful. Levin's spell is not over yet. While the troll was helpless after being gored by the bison, Levin began to recite the second spell. Hot ray. An orange-red beam so intense that it turned white was emitted from the tip of the wand, shining directly on the giant monster. The irradiated area instantly became blackened and carbonized, and bursts of white smoke emitted. Ho ho! The giant monster itself was restrained by the fire element, and the scorching heat brought intense pain, making it roar in pain. The high-temperature rays streaked across the giant monster's chest, leaving a deep scar. The troll was in so much pain that even the bison couldn't care about it and could only cover its wounds and roll on the ground. But that wasn't the painful end of it. Hot ray. Another blazing light shot out. This time Levin aimed at the troll's newly attached arm. Under his careful control, the ray shined directly on the joint of the troll's shoulder and slowly passed through it. The newly reattached limb joint was already fragile, but the heat ray now exerted the effect of Superman's heat ray, burning the newly attached arm off again. The poor giant turned into the Condor hero again. After losing his right arm again, the troll wailed and picked up his right arm with his only remaining left hand and connected it to the wound, trying to stage the scene of reconnecting the severed limb again, but this time, its regenerative power has been suppressed by the fire element, and no matter how it is connected, it cannot produce an effect. The stupid troll didn't know what was going on, so he could only try again and again, and became incompetently furious over and over again. And Levin finally prepared the last spell. Fireball technique. Normally, he would not use such a mass destruction spell in such a small room, but the troll is a guy with strong vitality after all. In Levin's spell list, this is the only spell that can make the final decision. After casting, Levin stood in front of Hermione and used frost armor to protect himself and the little witch. Boom! The moment the blazing fire element touched the giant monster, a violent explosion occurred. The entire women's restroom was suddenly ablaze. Even though the center of the explosion was a full 7 or 8 meters away from Levin, the aftermath of the flame still destroyed most of the frost armor. When Levin turned around to look, the giant monster was already scorched black and fell to the ground, no longer breathing. If Levin hadn't cancelled the summoning of monster summoning before casting the fireball, even the bison is going to be roasted whole. Phew, finally done. Looking at the small mountain of charred corpses in front of him, Levin couldn't help but wipe away the non-existent sweat. Frost armor not only protects him, but also provides an air conditioning effect. In this case, it is quite difficult to sweat. Hermione also exited the invisibility state, standing next to Levin and looking at the dead monster in fear. If Levin hadn't arrived in time, she couldn't imagine what would have happened. About a few seconds later, there were footsteps outside the toilet door, and a familiar shout came from outside the door. Hermione! Are you there? It was Harry and Ronald, and they were also looking for Hermione. I'm here. Hermione responded. Harry and Ronald actually remembered to come to her, which moved Hermione a little. These two friends were indeed loyal. Of course, what moved her the most was Levin, who came to her for the first time. No one can bring a sense of security better than him. Hermione, be careful, there's a troll nearby. Ah. What is this? Harry and Ronald followed the sound and broke into the toilet. They were not frightened by the corpse of the troll immediately. before Levin could explain anything, there were footsteps again. After a moment, Ravenclaw's headmaster Flitwick and McGonagall rushed over at the head, followed closely by Snape, and Quirrell, who had already woken up, was at the end. Quirrell only glanced at the charred corpse of the giant monster, then let out a weak sob, clutched his chest tightly, and slunk to the ground with another exaggerated wail. Snape bent down to look at the troll, while Flitwick and McGonagall looked at the four young wizards. "Levin Green, what the hell are you students playing?" McGonagall said, with cold anger in his voice. "You're lucky you weren't killed by it. Why didn't you heed the warning and stay in the dormitory?" "I didn't hear any warning at all." Professor McGonagall's questioning made Harry and Ronald panic, but it didn't make Levin nervous at all. Before looking for the troll, he had already laid the groundwork. "I just ate too fast at the dinner, and my stomach felt a little uncomfortable. I went to the toilet, but I didn't hear any warning." After that, he went a step further and asked the other party in turn, "I never expected that I would encounter a troll in Hogwarts, which is known as the safest place in the world. I also want to ask, what kind of tricks is the school doing?" Snape glanced at Levin suspiciously, as if judging the truth of his words. Flitwick asked with concern, "Levin, you are not injured, are you?" After getting a negative answer, he turned to Professor McGonagall and explained to Levin, "You did misunderstand, Minerva. Miss Cravat just mentioned Levin to me, and he did go to the toilet in the middle of the banquet. It's normal not to hear the warning." "Oh, if that's the case. I'm sorry, kid, this is indeed Hogwarts' mistake." Professor McGonagall became embarrassed. In fact, her anger was entirely out of concern for her students, so she turned to the three little lions and waited for their explanation. "Miss Granger has been staying here because she is sad," Levin explained for Hermione. "She has not attended the Halloween dinner from the beginning." As for Harry and Ronald, he glanced at the two of them, and they both defended themselves. "We are here to find Hermione. We want to remind her about the troll. In fact, we only arrived a little earlier than you, Professor." After hearing everyone's reasons, Professor McGonagall's eyes softened. "I finally understand the matter." She coughed a few times, and first looked at Levin apologetically. "Mr. Green, you solved the troll alone. For this, I will give Ravenclaw 20 points. I have to say, there are not many for a first-year student to be able to compete with an adult troll. You have indeed proven your talent." Flitwick looked at the burnt corpse and praised, "Although I don't know how you used the fire spell to kill a troll, I have to say, it was a great job." As for you, Professor McGonagall looked at the remaining three young wizards. "Miss Granger, since you have extenuating circumstances, I will not deduct points for Gryffindor for this. But Mr. Potter and Mr. Weasley, each of you will deduct points for Gryffindor. It's been 5 minutes. Next time something like this happens, you should take the initiative to find the professor instead of making fun of your own life, if Mr. Green hadn't been here this time." Professor McGonagall did not continue. She did not want Levin to think that this was an encouragement to him. "Now then, you'd better go back to the common room. The students are all having Halloween dinner in their own houses." On the way back to the lounge, Levin kept dealing with Harry's entanglement with Ronald. They couldn't imagine that a little wizard of their own age could actually defeat a giant monster head-on. As for Hermione, the girl was smiling the whole time, not at all like she was trembling with fear before. The three people in front of her made her feel friendship for the first time at Hogwarts, especially Levin. It wasn't until today that Hermione felt like she had made a friend. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th. Chapter 34 Harry's Threat Theory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Levin and others have returned to the lounge to enjoy the rest of the festival. The professors are still discussing the accident. This giant monster accidentally escaped from Professor Quirrell's laboratory. Although a first-year student had dealt with it, Dumbledore certainly could not allow Quirrell to leave something like a troll in Hogwarts, even if it was used as a teaching aid. In the principal's office, a gloomy-looking Snape was talking to Dumbledore. "I don't understand why you allowed him to become the defense against the dark arts professor. Snape said resentfully. The position he had dreamed of for many years was now occupied by such a guy. You can imagine his frustration, if compared with the scene when he watched Lily marry James Potter, that it's about 1% of that feeling. Dumbledore was non-committal. I have a last resort, Severus. Facing this calm old face, Snape was filled with anger, but also helpless. In fact, he was dissatisfied with Dumbledore. When he betrayed Voldemort and took refuge with the White Wizard, the root of everything was Lily. As a result, Lily was actually killed under Dumbledore's protection. Even if this was an accident that Dumbledore couldn't have foreseen, Snape still had a grudge against the White Wizard. If it weren't for the sake of Lily's child, Harry Potter, he really wouldn't want to obey this old bee's orders. Seeing that Dumbledore was unwilling to express his opinion, Snape went further. I just checked the corridor on the 4th floor. The door was opened and the three-headed dog attacked the intruder. In addition, I insisted on the corpse of the troll. The burn marks on the dead troll were not simple, and some of the wounds were not like those that could be caused by the ordinary, fire-making curse. You have to pay attention to the new life of the Ravenclaw. Dumbledore still just nodded. I understand, Severus, you have to give the young wizard a little more trust. Seeing that his words fell on deaf ears, Snape turned away and left. As he was about to leave the headmaster's office, Dumbledore said softly, "Please pay more attention to Professor Quirrell for me. You already doubted him and yet you allowed him to be a professor in the castle." Snape became even more angry. "Severus, I have a last resort," Dumbledore said softly. "Fuck your damn reasons." Snape was furious and slammed the door. In the following period, Levin almost became a star at Hogwarts. Almost everyone who meets him asks about how he defeated the troll. Even his roommate Steve came to him and asked, "Hey, Levin, I heard that you had a battle with a troll that night." Because of this, the toilet was blown to pieces, and there were broken limbs and limbs all over the floor. "Is this true?" Levin was stunned after hearing this. "Good guy, are you sure you're not talking about Stalingrad, but the Hogwarts basement?" Only when he asked Hermione did he find out that after returning to the common room that day, Ronald couldn't help but be excited and spent most of the night talking with the little lions in the common room. That's so exciting. In order to attract more attention, Ronald made a little exaggeration of the facts. Who would have thought that if it was passed down to 10, it would become like this? Ronald is indeed a big talker who loves to be in the limelight. Until a week later, Levin could still see him bragging about it to others at breakfast in the auditorium. After entering November, the weather becomes very cold. The mountains surrounding the school were gray and covered with ice and snow, and the lake surface was as cold and hard as tempered steel. Every morning, with frost on the ground, the young wizards noticed Rubeus Hagrid, Hogwarts keykeeper and gamekeeper, decked out in thick furs, defrosting broomsticks on the Quidditch pitch. Quidditch season is about to begin. During these days, Ravenclaw's captain, Roger Davis, was busy training with Levin and the others whenever he had time. Quidditch training increased from 3 times a week to 5 times a week, but the professors at Hogwarts are not letting up on their studies just because of the exciting Quidditch season. Therefore, Levin is busier than other students. Naturally, Quidditch training cannot be left behind. In addition to completing the coursework assigned by the professor, he also has to go to the library to read and scan books, and also looks for opportunities to go to the room of requirement to find valuable items to repair. He came to Hogwarts. The first holiday after that is coming. Harry Potter serves as the main seeker of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, and he will play today. On Saturday morning, Roger Davis ran breathlessly to the Ravenclaw common room to break the news. Although Ravenclaw will face Hufflepuff in tomorrow's game, Ravenclaw's biggest opponents in the Quidditch Cup have always been Slytherin and Gryffindor. Therefore, Roger has been concerned about the situation of these two teams. He's only in the 1st grade, and he actually became the main force. Didn't you say he was a substitute before? What's the point? Don't we also have a first-year main player? Is it because he is famous? Of course not. Levin actively popularizes science. Do you know the trophy display room on the 4th floor? The crystal glass cabinets inside display trophies, shields, medals and statues. Every Quidditch Cup is placed there. I remember the last time I passed by there, an AA name was found on the trophy, James Potter. James Potter? Cyrilla was a little surprised. Another Potter, then his relationship with Harry is. They have a father-son relationship, Levin confirmed. That is to say, Harry's father, as a Seeker, once helped Gryffindor win the Quidditch Cup. Levin's words caused an uproar, that it is not surprising that Quidditch talent can be inherited. There are many Quidditch families in the wizarding world. Seeing that the scene was a bit chaotic, Cyrilla coughed dryly and said loudly. It's just a Potter, are you afraid? No matter who the opponent is, victory belongs to Ravenclaw. At this time, her eyes were firm, showing her desire for victory. That's right, against Hufflepuff tomorrow, the victory will only be ours. Levin also echoed, thinking of the ace pairing of Levin and Cyrilla. The Eaglets finally let go of their fear of Harry, but after watching the afternoon game, the Harry threat theory started making noise again. As the first game of the season, Slytherin played very dirty. It almost looked like they were playing rugby rather than Quidditch. Throughout the game, they kept committing flagrant fouls, which made Gryffindor extremely uncomfortable, and the score kept falling behind. In the end, it was Harry Potter who saved the world. He risked losing control of his broom to catch the golden snitch first, ending the game in one fell swoop. After the game, there was a little farce where Snape was suspected of framing Potter, but no matter what, everyone has seen what Harry Potter is capable of. Now Ravenclaw can only hope that their new player has Harry's skills. The next morning it was clear and cold. The restaurant is filled with the enticing smell of grilled sausages, and everyone is looking forward to a wonderful Quidditch game. Answer readers' questions. Some readers asked why the protagonist wanted to share his own magic. Because these magics are simple and basic enough, there is no big threat if they are shared. Magic such as invisibility, dancing lights, ice arrows, and fireball are just basic spells in other worlds, and their upper limit is just that. What if others know about it? If the protagonist really wants to learn advanced spells such as prayer, finger of death, meteor explosion, and stop time, of course it is impossible to teach it to others casually. In addition, the main plot of this novel is to build power, not to become stronger alone. The protagonist is an orphan and has no family. To establish his power, he naturally needs to find opportunities to win over talented people. Even if you think outsiders are unreliable and want to take the route of having many children and many blessings, you must have the cooperation of the opposite sex, and you can't let the protagonist have mitosis. If you really can't bear to fall in love and think about licking or something, you can just treat Hermione as a future subordinate. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th. Chapter 35 Ravenclaw vs. Hufflepuff. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The time soon reached 11 o'clock. There were huge crowds of people around the Quidditch pitch. It seemed like all the teachers and students in the school came to the stands around the Quidditch pitch. Many students even brought telescopes. The stands were literally lifted into the air to get a clear view of the action, but it was still difficult to see clearly at times. Roger and other players gathered around Levin and Shirley and walked to the locker room. Hey guys, our Ravenclaw glory is coming. We are the best team Ravenclaw has ever seen. Roger enthusiastically launched into his pre-match speech. The year before last, after our best chaser, Miss Leanne, joined Ravenclaw, our performance surpassed that of Gryffindor, and was only second to Slytherin. And this year, we have welcomed a young talented chaser, Levin Green. Neither Slytherin nor Hufflepuff is our opponent. Wish us luck. Tell me. What are we? Champion. The Ravenclaw Quidditch players walked out of the locker room with high spirits, and then walked to the cheering stadium. The one who takes the first place is not Roger, but Cyrilla, because she is the biggest star. Levin walked behind, without any fear, and even a little enthusiastic. Even he would be affected by such a fanatical atmosphere. The scene was very much like a popular football or basketball game in previous lives. Levin saw Ravenclaw's auditorium at a glance. There was a huge banner above the seats that read Ravenclaw must win. Surrounding the big banner were small banners with the names of the 7 team members written on them. The banners were enchanted with a levitating spell, allowing them to float above the Ravenclaw stand without the need for human hands to hold them. The blue banner floats with the wind, and the eagle emblem in the banner that keeps flapping its wings is like a real eagle soaring in the 9 heavens. The referee of the game is Mrs. Hooch, who stands in the middle of the court with her broomstick in her hand. "Attention everyone, I want everyone to compete fairly and honestly," she said when the players from both teams came to her side. "Everyone, please ride on your broomsticks." Levin stepped onto Nimbus 2000, this was a gift from Professor Flitwick, the head of Ravenclaw did not want his students to lose to the Gryffindor Seekers. Beep. Mrs. Hooch blew her silver whistle as hard as she could, 15 flying broomsticks rose from the ground and rose high into the sky, the game begins. "Good morning everyone, I'm the commentator for this game, Lee Jordan." Lee Jordan's enthusiastic voice rang out, igniting the atmosphere of the entire venue. He is a black boy from Gryffindor, with traditional black dreadlocks. He seems to speak with rhythm and has an amazing talent in explanation. This match is Ravenclaw versus Hufflepuff. The quaffle was immediately grabbed by Ravenclaw's chaser Cyrilla Leanne. That girl is an excellent chaser. After she joined Ravenclaw, the Quidditch team has undergone a qualitative change. I dare say, she is the real captain of Ravenclaw, not Roger, and she is very charming. Jordan. I'm sorry, Professor. She was really running all the way up there, and she made a beautiful pass, and Levin Green caught the ball without even looking back. What a terrible understanding. Levin Green is a new player discovered by Cyrilla Leanne this year. If Gryffindor's Harry Potter is the youngest seeker in a century, then Green is the youngest chaser in a century. Lee Jordan introduced Levin without forgetting to mention Gryffindor Harry Potter. Beautiful. He just dodged and escaped Zacharias' deliberate steal. He lived up to Cyrilla's expectations. Although he is young, he is agile enough. He was soaring all the way in the middle, and Zacharias couldn't catch up with him. This speed was amazingly fast. It turned out that he was riding the same Nimbus 2000 as Harry. It seems that Ravenclaw didn't want Gryffindor to dominate the front. Lee Jordan mentions Harry again. Hufflepuff's other chaser, Cadverdetti, suddenly stepped in and blocked Levin in front of him. Faced with this inevitable steal, Levin casually threw the quaffle to the upper left and at the same time turned the broom to the lower right. This action almost stunned Cadwallader. He didn't know for a moment whether he was blocking the ball or someone, but Levin smoothly moved him behind him, and the quaffle fell into the hands of Cyrilla on the upper right. A beautiful 1-2. Lee Jordan was so excited that he almost jumped up. Levin cleverly played a trick on Cadwallader. Cyrilla was already waiting above. I have never seen such a tacit understanding, they didn't even look at each other the whole time. Cyrilla kept going, heading straight into the scoring area without slowing down at all. Is it about to appear? Cyrilla's classic solo quick breakthrough. She relied on this to help Ravenclaw become a strong contender for the Quidditch Cup. Oh. Goalkeeper Stebbins came forward. He wants to challenge Cyrilla's breakthrough head-on. Can he succeed? With Lee Jordan's passionate commentary, all attention was focused on Hufflepuff's goal. Immediately afterwards, they heard Lee Jordan scream. Oh. No. She didn't shoot the ball herself. Cyrilla didn't break through alone. She actually passed the ball the moment she entered the scoring area. Everyone forgot that she had teammates. It was Levin. Levin Green received the ball. He has been waiting there for a long time. Hufflepuff's defense has been attracted by Cyrilla, and now he is facing an empty goal. Levin drove the Nimbus 2000 and threw the quaffle towards the ring in front of him. The ball went in. Exquisite coordination. The talented chaser Cyrilla used herself to attract all the attention and handed the ball to her teammates before breaking through. The youngest chaser in a century, Levin Green, he lived up to the expectations of his seniors and scored the first goal of the game. And this was less than a minute before the game started. Along with Jordan's excited explanation, huge cheers rang out from the Ravenclaw stands. After losing a goal at the beginning, the morale of the Hufflepuffs was greatly reduced, but they were not discouraged. They quickly passed the ball to the chaser Zacharias, and quickly launched an attack before Levin returned to the half-court gap. The three chasers formed a triangle, protected the ball aggressively, and launched a direct attack on Ravenclaw's position. Captain Roger quickly organized an interception. However, the Eagles are afraid of physical confrontation, so Ravenclaw's playing style is generally soft. Although he can do a lot of technical tricks, he is not good at strong breakthroughs and defense. This is why the addition of Cirilla can bring about a qualitative change in the Ravenclaw Quidditch team. The future Witcher is like a freak in Ravenclaw. Not only is he skilled in playing skills, but he is also not afraid of close combat and physical confrontation. Even Slytherin's Marcus Flint had to give up in this regard. The addition of Cirilla fills Ravenclaw's gap very well, making many tactics that were just a chore become full of threats. Now that Levin has arrived, there are two such freaks. It's Cirilla again. Facing Hufflepuff's group breakthrough, it's Cirilla who steps forward again. She is not only a powerful breakthrough player, but also an iron wall for Ravenclaw. But can she stop the triangle attack of 3 people by herself? With the explanation, all the Ravenclaws felt their hearts tightening. Wait, it's Levin. Levin returned with incredible speed, a beautiful Parkins clamp tactic. He stole the quaffle from Chaser Summers. What a terrifying tacit understanding. Jordan sighed loudly. I have to repeat it again. The tacit understanding between Cirilla and Levin is the most terrifying I have ever seen among ball chasers. They don't even need words, just a glance. They both focus on Sarah holding the ball. Muse. Poor Summers, he has no chance between these two vicious chasers. Wait, what is he going to do? Merlin's beard. Levin didn't wait for his teammates and immediately started a fast break. Hufflepuff can't make it back. Where's the beater? Beater, please save him. Hufflepuff's hitters are certainly working hard. Just as Levin was about to enter the scoring area, a black bludger quickly hit his back, but Levin didn't even turn his head, as if he had eyes behind his back. Psychic detection is much easier to use than eyes. He turned slightly sideways, dodged lightly, and listened to the huge iron ball whistling past his ears. Unfortunately, the batsman couldn't save Hufflepuff. Levin allowed himself a one-on-one opportunity with the goalie. What would he do? He would just go for it. Just like Cirilla always did, he would be second. Cirilla? Yes. The ball went in. He proved that he is no less than Cirilla, and Hufflepuff's goalkeeper couldn't stop his attack. In Ravenclaw's seat, the cheers rang louder again. Less than a minute since the last time. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th. Chapter 36, The Epiphany at the Critical Moment is also exclusive to the Protagonist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next game almost turned into a dance party between Levin and Cirilla. They took turns to attack, either using their incomparable personal skills and impact to break through directly, or using superhuman tacit understanding and exquisite skills to cooperate with each other to play with Hufflepuff's chasers. If it were in the past, Hufflepuff could have used a multi-person defense to block Cirilla, while the remaining people would drag Ravenclaw, who was not good at melee combat, into a close fight to gain a fighting chance. This is a common tactic used by other teams to deal with Ravenclaw after Cirilla joined Ravenclaw, but now, even this trick is no longer easy to use, because Levin is no less a threat than Cirilla. Whenever their zone defense pinned one of them, the other one could take advantage of Hufflepuff's defense to break through and score like crazy, but if they don't play zone defense and man-marking, then these two guys can start at the same time and rely on their superhuman tacit understanding to exert a stronger effect. In this way, Hufflepuff was kept flying around by Ravenclaw, but he never knew how to resist Ravenclaw's attack. As Jordan concluded, the addition of Levin gives Ravenclaw 2 Cirillas. No, in Hufflepuff's eyes, Levin is the Proplusultramax version of Cirilla. Not only does he possess Cirilla's general speed, technique, and impact, but he also possesses super intuition and perception that Cirilla does not have. Bludgers can't do any damage to him at all, no matter which direction the batter attacks from, whether it is a frontal attack or a sneak attack, none of them could cause him any harm. He never had to pay special attention or be wary of his surroundings to dodge the bludgers with the smallest of movements. When have the little badgers ever encountered such an opponent? He is not as fast as him, his skills are not as good as his, he can't hit or hit, he is as helpless as a hedgehog. Hufflepuff's goalkeeper may be able to block 1 shot, 2 shots, but Ravenclaw always shoots, Jordan sighed. Ravenclaw has 2 powerful breakthrough players, and Hufflepuff has nothing to do about it. In only 10 minutes of the game, Ravenclaw scored 90 points, scoring almost a goal every minute. Now Hufflepuff may have to rely on their seeker, Cedric Diggory. As long as he can catch the snitch within 10 minutes, victory will belong to Hufflepuff. Why within 10 minutes? Because in 10 minutes at most, the score difference between the two teams would be over 150 points. At that time, even if the golden snitch flew to Cedric's hands, he would not be able to save Hufflepuff. Haven't they discovered the golden snitch yet? Jordan turned back and continued to observe the progress of the game, his eyes sweeping around the field, wishing he could become a seeker himself, but even the seeker on the field found nothing, let alone him. When the score between the two sides reached 120-20, the situation changed. Levin, who was originally cooperating with Cirilla in the attack, suddenly stopped flying, turned around and flew towards the seeker Zhang Qiu, leaving Cirilla alone to face the pursuit and interception of the little badgers, but none of the Ravenclaw players seemed surprised. Under the confused gazes of the audience, the 2 little Chinese wizards just whispered in the air, then Levin pointed to the Hufflepuff stand. Zhang Qiu immediately activated his broomstick and swooped over first, with Levin following closely behind. Cedric, who was not far away, only stayed for a moment before following him as if he suddenly understood, although he could not immediately determine the location of the golden snitch. After flying closer, the truth became clear. He followed the direction of his opponent and discovered the small golden ball, which was the size of a walnut and was constantly flapping its wings like a wasp. Jordan's commentary revealed the truth to the audience. It's incredible. In this game, the first person to discover the golden snitch was not the seekers of both sides, but the chaser of Ravenclaw, who contributed an amazing performance. It's really amazing. Levin Green was not only scoring consecutive goals, he was also looking for the golden snitch part-time, and was the first to find it. That he stared closely at the chase in front of him and explained excitedly. Now the situation is obvious. Ravenclaw has changed its tactics. The youngest chaser directly transformed into the second seeker, helping the real seeker Zhang Qiu to catch the golden snitch, while Ravenclaw's chasers and beaters then they turn to the defensive and adopt delaying tactics. Anyway, they have the score advantage and are not afraid of losing the ball. As long as Ravenclaw catches the golden snitch first, they will win. As Hufflepuff's seeker, Cedric Diggory had been watching the boy in front of him crush his teammates. The opponent was so strong that he had to take on the important task of turning the team from defeat into victory, but now, he finally experienced firsthand how difficult this boy was. Seeing that Ravenclaw discovered the golden snitch before him, Diggory ignored the danger and forced himself to increase his speed to the maximum, trying to surpass Zhang Qiu, but Levin is like an escort fighter plane next to a bomber. Once Diggory tries to get closer, he will take the initiative to meet him, as if he will stop him even if they die together. Diggory tried many overtaking methods, including emergency acceleration, emergency changes of direction, forced collision, but no matter how he tried, the young chaser would accurately block his path, preventing him from making any progress. He originally thought that he could forcefully break through with his elder physical advantage, but he was wrong. The opponent was much stronger than he looked. When the two collided, Diggory felt that he had bumped into not a wizard but a troll. Finally, Digorian couldn't stand it anymore. Seeing that Zhang Qiu was just a few centimeters away from catching the golden snitch, he immediately ignored it and forced a breakthrough. Of course, Levin didn't tolerate him, and blocked him directly. The two are wrestling. Zhang Qiu suddenly slowed down, and the three of them formed a ball and rolled into Hufflepuff's banner. Seeing that the situation was not good, Diggory reluctantly turned his broom and escaped smoothly. With Levin's skills, there was a chance to break free, but Zhang Qiu was too weak to hold the broom with one hand, and lost his hand when the banner rolled up. Seeing this, Levin had no choice but to rush forward and at the same time urgently cast Frost Armor, trying to use it as a buffer. You are in crisis and need to quickly cast magic to deal with the current trouble. At this critical moment, you suddenly realize the metamagic feat, Spell Instant, Spell Prompt. You can consume extra mana to cast spells instantly. The higher the spell level, the greater the extra mana consumed. Generally, spells above level 5 cannot be cast instantly. You are in deep crisis, and you instinctively burst out with spiritual power to try to prevent yourself from falling. You suddenly realize the psychic power, psychic explosion. Instant cast, frost armor. Psychic explosion. In an instant, invisible ice armor gathered around Levin, protecting him and Zhang Qiu in his arms, and the invisible power of thought exploded, greatly slowing down their fall. In the eyes of the audience, the two were involved in the banner and fell directly from a height of more than 10 meters. Everyone in the stands exclaimed. Professor Flitwick quickly drew out his wand and quickly cast a shock-absorbing spell, which together with Levin's telekinesis slowed down the falling momentum. The two fell to the grass along with the banner, where it rolled for weeks. Mrs. Hooch stopped the game. Ravenclaw's team members flew down to help the two of them escape from the tightly entangled banner. Even Diggory came to check on himself. When they broke free from the shackles of the banner and stood up surrounded by the team members, the whole venue seemed to have been pressed on the pause button, and then immediately started again. Deafening cheers filled the stadium. Zhang Qiu stood up from Levin's arms and raised the hand holding the golden snitch high. It was because of this little guy that she unexpectedly let go, but the risk was worth it. 270 to 20 Ravenclaw won with a big score. You know, the Hogwarts Quidditch Cup is not about wins, but the total score of all games combined. Such a huge score gap gave Ravenclaw a huge lead over other teams in an instant. The scene has become a sea of joy. The Ravenclaw players were extremely happy. Roger kept cheering with Levin in his arms, not caring that he was only doing odd jobs throughout the game. Zhang Qiu held up the golden snitch and kept holding Levin's wrist tightly with his other hand. Levin could only smile awkwardly as he was hugged and grabbed. Cyrilla was very happy to win this time, but she, who had always been carefree, always felt a little uncomfortable at this moment. Especially the scene where Junior Zhang Qiu grabbed Junior Levin's wrist, which made her roll her eyes. In short, amid laughter and tears, Ravenclaw's first round of Quidditch came to an end. Today's update, May 4th, additional update, March 10th. You guys are so awesome. 3.5k spent, 58 monthly tickets, 100 plus comments. In total I have to add 11 updates. I have only made up 3 additional updates now. I will have to write more Braille in the future and try to add a few more updates in one day. Don't think that I'm asking for less and the conditions are harsh. I'm not someone who gets stuck updating at 2,000 words. I did the math and found that each chapter has an average of 2,700 words, which is half a big chapter. Anyway, thank you all for your support. If you have flowers, monthly votes, comments, etc., please vote for me. Mid-Autumn Festival National Day Family Feedback. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Grab a deposit now. Activity time, September 29th to October 6th.